Chemical bonding, part 2. Now, we want to know that there are two types of covalent bonding. There are two types of covalent bonding. There's polar covalent, there's non-polar covalent. Polar is when the electrons are shared unequally. Non-polar is when electrons are shared equally. So you have polar, you have non-polar. Unequal, equal. HCl, which we looked at before, had an unequal sharing of the electrons. The electrons are closer to the chlorine because chlorine has a higher electronegativity. We could actually draw it like this. The electrons being closer to the chlorine so that the chlorine has an apparent negative charge, the hydrogen has an apparent positive charge. Now, this is a linear molecule. Whenever you have only two atoms in a compound, that compound is linear. This is a polar molecule. Polar is the same thing as a dipole. Now let's do an example of a nonpolar. Nonpolar is when they're shared equally. That would be all of your diatomics. H2, N2, O2, F2, Cl2, Br2, I2. Those are your diatomics. Your diatomics all have nonpolar covalent bonding. The electrons are going to be shared equally because if you subtract the electronegativities, you're going to get 0, right? So let's take a look. Fluorine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's another fluorine, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each fluorine has 7 valence electrons. But together, when they form the covalent bond, each one thinks it has 8. The electrons are being shared equally because they have the same electronegativity, so none of them is pulling on the electron more strongly. Okay? So this would be a nonpolar. Again, what would be the shape of this bond? This is going to be linear because there are only 2 elements present. Okay.